Welcome back here on Morning Kick Around. Buffalo Pro Soccer made some headlines by selecting their stadium location for their upcoming USL Championship side. And to discuss this further, we're now joined by Peter Marlette, Jr., President of Buffalo Pro Soccer. Welcome in to Morning Kick Around, sir. Busy time, I'm sure.
Yeah, no question, but thrilled to get the invite. Thanks for having me, guys.
Obviously, we're big fans of any stadium getting built for soccer in America. We're fans of pretty pictures of those stadiums. And Peter, I guess we were trying to catch up, from a removed position of what's going on there a couple of months ago, and now you've taken this big step. So what ultimately led to this stadium location being selected, and obviously what kind of work has been done and still needs to be done to get where you want to be?
Yeah, so a ton has gone on behind the scenes in the past year. As you guys know, a stadium and the stadium location are, really defining factors of a club in the U.S., club anywhere, but especially in the U.S. and the USL. So we did a ton of homework, a ton of, research on. I started with 25 plus sites, and then we really whittled it down to 3 finalist sites about 6 months ago, and just dug in completely on those. And yeah, we announced last Friday that we had made our decision in the Valley neighborhood of Buffalo, which is a neighborhood right in Buffalo, about 2 minutes from Larkinville, which is probably my favorite neighborhood in Buffalo, and right outside of downtown. It's a great site, and we're going to be able to be up and playing by that 2026 season, which has been the goal from day one.
I wanted to ask you, what is the Buffalo soccer scene like, and what makes this the moment to make this bold move towards pro soccer in Buffalo?
Yeah, the Buffalo soccer scene is great, and I'll be honest, I grew up here and I've spent most of my life here, but I was away for about 8 years prior to coming back and taking on this project. I was abroad in Switzerland for a couple of years, getting a master's and working, and then was at FC Dallas for a brief period in business development. And then most recently was the general manager of Union Omaha in USL League One, and had a very successful tenure there. But I've been away from Buffalo for, like I said, about 8 years. And it was a great soccer scene when I left. When I came back, totally different soccer scene, unbelievable. There was really one soccer bar in Buffalo when I left, 8+ years ago or whatever it was. When I came back, you go to countless bars throughout Buffalo and Western New York on a Saturday or a Sunday morning, and they are just full. We're actually having a community town hall at one of those bars in downtown Buffalo called the Banshee, which is an Irish pub that, it's standing room only Saturday and Sunday mornings, and it's far from the only one in this city. So frankly, I'm surprised that somebody hadn't already done this, but I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to be the one to do it.
Now, Peter, 7,600 seats, I think, initially for your stadium. I say initially because I imagine you would like to have the ability to expand if the club is a success and that demand is there. So, how much can you sort of think about the dream scenario when you have sort of the business of actually just getting things started and finding a proper place to play?
Yeah, listen, the day-to-day of getting the business started, locating the proper place, putting together the ownership group, all of that, that's a ton. That takes up a lot of time. But in every decision that you make in that process, you have to be thinking about what's next. And especially with USL implementing promotion and relegation and moving towards Division I status, or having a league with Division I status, according to the Federation right now, 15,000 seats is the minimum. So with our architects, Labella Companies has been our architects, and our modular construction advisor and builder 6'5" stadium experience, we planned everything with the intention of expanding this if and when necessary.
That's very interesting. Would an expansion of, like you said, it was a modular sort of stadium. So what does that mean? Just like the stands that are there, just there's places added to the back of it. What does that even look like?
Well, so right now, and if you'll go to buffaloprosoccer.com and check out our renderings or check out our socials, you'll see those renderings. Right now, it is a a horseshoe shape with an open end that is going to be open for general admission. Those 7,600 seats that you mentioned, Jason, that's seated capacity, so it's not counting
Okay.
the PA on that open end.
Okay.
So, the actual capacity number is higher than that, obviously. But yeah, it is building all three of those stands in a way that they can be expanded upon, built on top of, and also we've got a whole end line right now that is open for GA. You build a stand there and it increases capacity pretty quickly.
Yeah, you said USL introducing promotion and relegation obviously is now a part of this. You guys were getting off the ground before that vote and that decision and that announcement came, and obviously First Division as well for USL as something they want to institute. So does that change? Did that change anything ambition wise? Did it change anything about your conversations you might be having with potential ownership interests or local interests who are engaged with you?
Yeah, all of the above. That was a massive announcement for the American soccer landscape, but especially those who are building and investing in USL. I will say all of my current investors, immediately called me and were thrilled about this announcement. And then a lot of people who I haven't spoken to yet gave me calls or sent me emails when they saw that news and realized, this is going to be unique. This is going to separate USL from the rest of professional sports in this country. And it's a huge opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to win our way to Division I status and earn our way to Division I status by putting a good product on the field. And that's what I did in Omaha, and that's what we're going to do here.
That's interesting to hear that from the investors, the folks putting money into this. The argument against pro rel is like losing like investments and whatnot. So you're saying that the folks that are working with you on this financially, there was more excitement than angst when the pro rel announcement came out?
No question about that. I actually heard very little angst. I think when you see the clubs abroad in European leagues that get crushed by getting relegated, it's a very different model. It's a very different system. Those broadcast revenues that they're giving up are enormous. And while the broadcast revenues in USL, I am sure, are going to grow significantly, it's not going to be so crippling to go down to League One or Championship, depending on where you're starting. Having said that, I have absolutely no intention of getting relegated at any point, and my ownership group is well aware of that. But this is different. It's a more sustainable model, and frankly, I don't know that I got a single call from an owner, concerned when that announcement came out. It was all excitement.
All right, sounds like everything's kind of coming together. One thing that soccer people love to talk about is what your team's going to look like on the field in terms of color schemes and kits, Peter, and obviously the name. So we got you said you're a year out from putting your team on the field. Where are we with that process?
Yeah, so I've been working with my marketing and PR firm, who are a local firm, but they do global work called the Martin Group, for months now in building our brand. But what was really important to me is that, and I think a lot of clubs have recently fallen into this trap in the U.S., that our branding and our crest didn't look like it was devised by sports executives and marketing people in a boardroom. So we built what's called our Creative Council, and we're going to be on social introducing all of their profiles in the coming weeks here. But the Creative Council are 5 local artists and creatives who came up in Buffalo, live in Buffalo, do their work in Buffalo. You see their work all over this city. And we've been really leaning on them to help us develop this brand and make sure that it is authentic, and that it doesn't look manufactured in a boardroom. So the announcement is coming soon enough, but okay. I'm not able to break anything for you today.
You don't have like a list of 5 names that we can talk about? Come on, Peter.
I can't do it.
I'm sure we could narrow it down a little bit. Will there be an FC or an SC at the end of the name?
I can tell you I expect neither to be at the end of the name.
All right. See, I like that. That's intriguing to me. Okay, I'm on board with this. Whatever. And look, obviously I have no business telling people from Buffalo what their soccer team should be called. I just, we get very wrapped up in imaging and stuff. And pro rel coming in, is going to make USL particularly unique. And as somebody who wants to see the sport grow in America, I'm all for USL differentiating itself. You came from Omaha. You talked about your experience in Omaha. What did you learn in Omaha with a club that is playing in the third division, but has obviously been pretty successful, is trying to figure out their own stadium situation? What did you learn there that you're bringing to Buffalo?
I learned a ton, and on the sporting side and on the technical side, I went in there with some beliefs. Already going into it, using advanced statistics to build a roster, stuff like that. And though you had to tailor it a little, it went pretty well in Omaha. So I plan on continuing that. But I think what was most important in Omaha was realizing how important it is, and how to go about forming a genuine relationship with the community that you're representing. These community town halls that we've been doing, we've tried to do them monthly, though it hasn't quite worked out, but we've done it just about monthly for the past year in Buffalo. It's basically just Buffalo Pro Soccer buying a beer for anyone who comes into the bar or whatever it may be that we're at, and me sitting on a stool or up on stage answering questions for, we schedule it for an hour. It ends up lasting 2 hours every time. And we started that in Omaha, not from day one, but it was something that we realized was absolutely necessary to, we're going to represent these communities that we play in, and we can't just assume that we know what that looks like. We need to engage with the people who are spending their money with this club and who are allowing this club to represent them, if we're really going to understand what we're building.
You said that you've been holding community town halls and be doing so while in Buffalo. How long has there been like a public facing side to this Buffalo Pro Soccer project?
It was at the end of March last year that we announced this. A lot was going in behind the scenes for months leading up to that, but it became public end of March.
And so again, I mean, where you talked about the amount of media that you're doing, obviously on the back of the stadium announcement, Peter. I'm very fascinated to see how this all plays out over the next couple of months. You also said, you bring that technical team building side of things from your time in Omaha. When does that part of this start for you? I mean, you said you don't ever want to get relegated. That now is suddenly a thing in USL. You got to put a winner on the field, Peter.
Yeah, listen, that process started a year ago, more than a year ago. I've got my player database that, when I'm working in a GM role, is more of a daily update, but, for the past year or so, it's been more of a weekly update. But I've got my player and technical staff database. After every game, I'm sending some WhatsApp messages to people, congratulating them on their goals, stuff like that. Nothing against the rules, just friendly conversations. But it's that's constant. That has to be always happening.
Might be a little too early, but it sounds like you're already working on it. Is there anything that's going to be unique about the way you're going to construct it? Do you have a local talent sort of leaning, a young talent, a foreign talent? What kind of approach are you taking at this stage?
Yeah, there are some local players who are playing professionally right now who I'm having conversations with, and we've already formed the Buffalo Pro Soccer Academy, and it's small right now. It's very much in its infancy right now. We've got our under 14 boys at Dallas Cup as we speak, so that's exciting for us. But yeah, the academy system, it is absolutely a goal of this club to have at least one academy contract, if not professional contracts, coming out of that academy every year. There's a ton of talent in Buffalo and in Western New York and Southern Ontario, which we'll be able to draw on, being right on the border here.
Nice.
Where I sit in, I live in downtown Buffalo. I could be in Canada in 5 minutes. So we're right there, and that's a great market for soccer talent. We should be able to develop some of our own players by putting the right structure in place. There hasn't been the top of the pyramid professional team for those players, so it's been difficult to reach that level, but we believe we can do it. But listen, if you're going to compete in USL Championship, you need to be hitting on your international roster spots. You need to bring in the right players, and you need to be, identifying American talent better than your opposition.
Last one for me. I mean, again, get very excited about stadium renderings, but what makes me more excited is the actual stadium getting built. So imagine that I think you talked about the obviously the goal is to have this ready in 2026. The modular stadium is probably going to speed up construction dramatically. What is that process? How long does it take? When can we start seeing pictures of shovels in the ground?
Yeah, shovels in the ground will be this summer. We have, a weekly set development meeting with about 20 people, engineers, architects, the modular companies, the whole development team. We have weekly meetings, but really we're all in conversation daily. Shovels in the ground this summer with the modular construction from 6-5 Stadium Experience should allow us to be open in 2026 for the 2026 season.
Exciting times ahead, Peter. For those in the audience that really want to follow along this story, it sounds like the naming and the branding announcement is going to come out soon, and then obviously this whole process of having a stadium put together there. What would be the way to get in on the action or follow the story closely for any listener out there?
Yeah, well, BuffaloProSoccer.com is our website, and we keep that very up to date. But our socials, we're on X, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. Instagram's our most followed handle right now, but we're on all the socials. So Buffalo Pro Soccer, and you'll be able to keep up. And I would also encourage locals. We've got our founding membership drive going on right now, so get your season ticket deposits in for special benefits, unique exclusive benefits, and priority access to tickets.
All right, Peter Marlette Jr., president of Buffalo Pro Soccer. Thank you so much for joining us here on Morning Kickaround, and all the best on this epic journey ahead of you and ahead of Buffalo Pro Soccer.
Yeah, guys, really appreciate the time and love everything you do. So thank you.
Viewer, if you haven't hit subscribe already, please do so. That'll help grow the viewer base. And we'll be right back here on Morning Kickaround.